Thank you, everyone, for being here, and very much appreciate the ongoing work that you're all doing. We're hearing nothing but great things from everyone who's reviewing, and I appreciate Sean and Christian really taking the time to review a lot of your feedback. So keep it coming. A, I don't have to do it initially, and B, it really is very informative. So thank you all. These commitments are our shared agreements, living intentions that guide how we show up here for ourselves and for one another. Presence over performance. I commit to showing up as I am, not as I think I should be. Curiosity over judgment. I commit to replacing assumptions with questions, to listen without fixing, and to make space for the unknown. Pacing over pressure. I commit to moving at the rhythm of my own readiness. There is no timeline for healing, only next steps. Permission to be human. I commit to honoring my emotions, limits, and needs. Rest is revolutionary here. And confidentiality and compassion. I commit to holding what is shared in trust. We don't share stories that aren't ours to tell. Thank you all very much. You're on mute.
Sean, you're on mute.
Hey, I was talking to myself. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, that first intro went really well. Sorry you couldn't hear it, but I'll rewind. So, welcome to this week. I think there's been this consensus of feedback that people, as they shine the light in, are starting to feel uncomfortable. And what we want to impart on you this week is that's perfect and that's normal. And then we're going to help explain why. And then understanding why, it makes it much easier then to allow the discomfort and to maybe perhaps give yourself permission to feel this discomfort. So we had a beautiful talk with Dr. Dan Murphy last Thursday night, and he very vulnerably shared his experience of burnout as a cardiologist and what he went through. And then the year that he spent learning more about himself and how to apply certain tools to live more comfortably. And then he's brought that to the doctors in his hospital. And there's one word that he used that I'm going to work off of a little bit. And he used the word, that feeling of being broken. And what I want to offer, I've been sitting with that. What I want to offer you is that we are not broken, but we are cracking open. So if you just say, so if we say that to ourselves, I am not broken, I am cracking open. And as we crack open, the light starts to come through. And as we crack open, we start to just feel. And we feel more. And sometimes those feelings are uncomfortable. And it's easy in response to uncomfortable feelings to want to shut off again. But what we're offering are tools to build your capacity to be able to sit with different feelings, with uncomfortable feelings, and to know how to be with them so that they don't overwhelm us. And the beautiful thing about feeling is that as humans, we have this full spectrum of emotions that we get to experience. And if we push away or block ourselves from feeling the uncomfortable feelings, we are also pushing away and blocking ourselves to feel the most beautiful joy and depth of love that we have the potential to feel. So this cracking open that happens about this stage of shining the light in is perfectly normal. And the other thing that happens in this stage of self-exploration and nervous system regulation that is almost universal is some symptoms start to arise that we thought were gone. They're coming back. or they're becoming more pronounced or noticeable. And I'd like to give some explanations as to why that happens. And then we're also going to go into the different states of the nervous system and teach you about the 3 states of the nervous system. But first, some reasons why that might happen, why as we're building our capacity and learning tools and shining the flashlight in, why some symptoms might arise. So first, what happens is, one explanation could be that as our energy and our desire to do more, as we're feeling better and building our capacity rises, our cells aren't quite up to speed with that desire. And that cell danger response that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago hasn't shifted back to energy production yet. So we have this desire, but yet our bodies are not quite ready to produce or to have the energy to do what you want to do yet. So just be patient. We can only go as fast as the slowest part of us is willing to go. And this is where, so having that understanding of what's happening inside and that self-awareness, that self-compassion for our little mitochondria in each of our cells, maybe perhaps invite that permission to just slow things down and to understand you're still fatigued. You still have pain. There will come a time where the body will catch up. The more you practice, the more you regulate, the more you get yourself out of an inflammatory state, the more you're going to decrease that stress on your cells, and the more the cells are going to have the capacity to regenerate and start working in a healthy way. It has that innate intelligence within each cell to do that, to have the capacity to heal. And one image that I'd like to offer, a couple images, is one, a lot of us are in the Northeast and we've all experienced cold hands and feet at some point in time. And when we take these cold hands and feet and we put them under the water, the warm water to warm them up, it hurts. So it takes time for the blood flow to reach that distal part of the extremities, your fingertips. So those fingertips burn when you put that warm water on them first. So you're trying to warm up, but the fingers aren't ready. The blood flow is not there yet. So with a few breaths, you can sit there with the warm water on your fingers and be patient. And eventually those fingers thaw out and the blood flow is there again. And then you move on and you forget that it ever happened. Another image that I'd like to offer is a butterfly in a chrysalis, or a butterfly in the cocoon. So many people have expressed the sensation of a really uncomfortable vibration inside their body. So I'd like you to imagine how a butterfly is developing inside a cocoon, and it reaches a phase where it is ready to fly. And it is inside, encased in this cocoon, in this chrysalis, and its wings are flapping against this boundary and against this encasing that it can't break through, because it's the wisdom and intelligence within the development of the butterfly knows that it's not quite ready yet. And a lot of us have protectors. We have these protectors that are usually younger parts of us. So they are not bad parts. They're serving a purpose. They are there to protect us from something. And they're not quite ready to let go. And so a part of us wants to fly, and there's a part of us not ready to fly yet. And then you're bumping up against that resistance. And it can feel like this vibration inside. So just know that it takes time. It takes time for all the parts to come on board. It takes time for all the parts to realize, oh, I don't need to protect anymore. I can let my guard down. This feels safe. And that word safety can be triggering, but But a lot of these protectors come on board at a time where they didn't feel safe. And that can be from big T, little t trauma, or not even something traumatic. It could be a startle, and that protector got stuck there, and it just doesn't want to let go. Or you had an injury to a part of your body, and your body is bracing and it's not ready to let go yet. It still thinks that injury is there, and you're still holding on and bracing, and that body part still feels pain, even though the tissue has healed. So it's that same thing. All the protector part, the cocoon, the chrysalis, and that part of you inside that's ready to fly, but is hitting up against resistance. Another scenario that might happen is you're feeling awesome and you just want to take on the world. And then you overdo it and you crash again. This is my personal pattern over and over again that I have to work on. And I know this one really well, and it's a big teacher for me. So I've learned to thank this part of me and recognize that pacing, timing, pausing, remembering that pause is really important to stay regulated and to keep coming back and using the tools to build our capacity for more. And sometimes it's natural and actually important to test our capacity, and we may overdo it. And then we have to come back and use our tools again. It's a natural part of growth. Doesn't mean we're going backwards. It means we're growing. So you're learning these tools now to build your capacity, to be able to sit with uncomfortable feelings with a little bit more patience, with a little bit more permission, with a little bit more comfort. And just the word permission, if you think of the word permission versus some people use the word surrender. I just got hated when people told me I should just surrender to the process. It felt like I had to give up or give in. It was a giving away of my power. But permission is active. It's very empowering. So I give myself permission to be tired and needing rest today, not to push. I give myself permission to be in a little bit of pain and to just take it easy. I give myself permission to feel that vibration inside, knowing that there's a part of me coming alive and that there's another part of me not ready to fly yet. And with that, let's start talking about the different states of the nervous system, that you can start learning how to track where your nervous system is and maybe why, and how to then bring in support so that you can move freely between each state of the nervous system. Because there are no bad states. These are all natural states. And the goal is to not become stuck. So Kristen, I pass on the torch.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Shaw, for those beautiful metaphors. So if you look on your left and you see the words 500 million years of wisdom, why do you have certain sensations right now? Because those were created 500 years ago to protect you. These states, these 3 states, 2 of them are for your survival. So if you think about that ancestry and where that lands, as you think about your sensations, it's pretty incredible. Dorsal vagal at the bottom of the hill is 500 million years old. And the reason why you have boom and bust, or you're incredibly fatigued, is likely you were in the next state, sympathetic, for too long. And to tie this back to what Dr. Sean taught us in cell danger response, it's the cell danger response that changes the biochemistry in the body. And when the biochemistry is changing and past experience are influencing a threat perhaps that's no longer there, we get stuck in some of these states. And so there are 3 states, as she said, but at the top of the mountain is the ventral vagal state. And that's the state of come alive. And here's the thing. We'll go through some of these states and we're going to tiptoe in this. Tomorrow you'll have more material and Monday you'll have more material. There's a lot. This is complex. This is the human body. But today we wanted to touch on it so that you can grow awareness that there are 3 states, in fact. And at the top of the mountain, the ventral vagal is the state where we're most connected as humans. And you can see the woman sitting at the top of the mountain doing her morning boost, her sunlight. We kind of liked that photo because of that. So hopefully many of you are doing that. But if we go back again, so dorsal vagal, I'm going to ask Sean just to comment on that because I did pull up a picture of the tortoise, and then we'll go through each one in a little more detail so you can relate to it.
Okay, so when we're in the state of dorsal vagal, this is the state of energy conservation. This is the place where we had too much for too long, and I always get this mixed up. It was too much for too long and not enough. Am I doing this?
Not enough capacity.
There's, okay, I'll post it. But basically you had too much for too long and you burnt out your resources and you go into shutdown or energy conservation, or this is where you're feeling overwhelmed. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to put myself out there and throw myself under the bus with you guys. So the other day, it was 2 days ago, Kristen and Mike were over and we were going over some of the exercises and what we were teaching. And Kristen was so excited with all of this information that she wanted to share with us. And it was after a long day of work for me, and she was going on and on and on and on. And afterwards, at the end, I was like, Kristen, I didn't hear a word you said. And I went into just dorsal vagal shutdown. My brain just shut down. And I can own it. I know when I go in it because I understand the states of the nervous system. I was like, my brain wasn't overwhelmed from my day of work and you're sharing all this great information. I'm so sorry. Let's start over. Let me get present. Let me use my tools, feel my feet on the ground, my sitting bones in the chair, rewind. Let's start over and do this a little bit more slowly. So I feel grounded. I could get myself into ventral vagal state and receive more information. But I needed to pause for a minute and get myself into ventral vagal state to be able to be in relationship and in a socially engaged place. Otherwise, I was too overwhelmed and I was in shutdown. Another example, I'll throw myself under the bus again. Another example was there was a couple of months ago, I have this countertop cleaner that I love and it just smells so good. So I use it every single day. And for like 3 days, I couldn't find where it was. And then one day I opened my refrigerator and there is my countertop cleaner. And I was like, oh, I'm clearly overdoing it and I'm not present. I am not in my body. I am doing things on automatic, not aware of what I'm doing, and my brain is shutting down. And I took at some point in time that I don't recollect, I put that countertop cleaner in the refrigerator and couldn't find it for 3 days. So that's also a dorsal vagal moment where you're just disconnected. So those are how the body conserves energy, is when you've overdone it, you're in overwhelm and you're conserving energy. And this has dated back. This is the reptilian brain. This is the reptilian response. This is the oldest response that our nervous system developed, is this ability to go into dorsal vagal for protection and energy conservation. So if we look at the tortoise, which is a reptile, when a tortoise is under stress or is feeling threatened, what does it do? To protect itself, it retreats and pulls back into its shell. When I have students coming to work with me, they come in and they're so excited and they want to put their hands on my patients and they'll stare intently and try so hard to be able to feel everything. And the person on the table goes into a protective mode, and I can feel it in their nervous system with my hands. And what I tell my students, I ask them, if you want a turtle to come out of its shell, what do? You don't grab the turtle and shake it. You don't sit there and stare at it. How many times have you walked into the room and you can feel someone's eyes like piercing and staring at you? You just know someone is looking at you. You can tell. You don't want to stare at the tortoise. You want to take a step back. You want to rest. Let assure the tortoise or the turtle that it is okay. You are not a threat and that it is safe to come out. So with time and patience, the turtle will start to peek its little head out. And maybe its little claws will start to come out. And when it looks around and it sees that there's no threat, then the whole turtle emerges and comes out of that dorsal vagal response. All right, any questions? Let's move on to sympathetic response.
Thank you for that, Dr. Sean. So dorsal, I'll just add one more comment. It's a feeling of heaviness, almost like you're moving through mud. And there are deviations of this. Like Dr. Sean described, putting something in the fridge that moment, but then there's a deviation of can't get out of bed. Some days can get out of bed. Some days you have more energy. That's going in and out of different nervous system states. And so all of these states are meant to be flexible. We're not meant to get stuck in them. So for sympathetic, think about an exercise you did or do that might be a little intense. Think about running, think about anything that's going to get your heart rate up. And what is it that you feel when you're exercising? Typically a fast heart rate, but you normalize it. You say, oh, well, of course, I'm out of breath. I was exercising. So what happens is, according to cell danger response that you learned, we get stuck in a state and it becomes our dominant state. We want to have flexibility in these three, but when you're stuck in sympathetic, you may have symptoms like a very fast heart rate or things that would happen that you would ordinarily feel after extreme exercise. And you're sitting still and you're saying, why is my heart racing? Well, this is because your nervous system is stuck in this state trying to protect you. It's a beautiful mechanism. And back to our tools. So all the tools that we use help with that state. Think about how you get up in the morning. Do you jump out of bed? Does your alarm go off and you look at it and you say, oh no, what kind of day am I going to have? Or do you get up slowly and press for presence? Are you telling your nervous system that there's danger by jumping up, anticipating the alarm? Uh-oh, we're late for this and this is happening and we're kind of in a crisis mode and we're telling the body there's danger. We're perpetuating symptoms by doing that. So if we think about being in that state, the first step is being aware what state you're in. Are you in heaviness, dorsal vagal shutdown, disassociation? Are you in sympathetic where you feel scattered? It's hard to have clarity. There's brain fog that comes at sympathetic and dorsal vagal. Once you shine that flashlight in, as we've been doing it with sensations, and now you shine the flashlight into the sensations, you can now tell by the end of your day, where was I dominant? And it's great information. Why? Because now you have the tools to come out of those states and dip into ventral vagal at the top of the mountain more often. So the more often you're dipping into ventral vagal, the more often the body is settling, the more we actually thaw. And that's what's producing some anger and grief lately, maybe some stronger sensations. That is all biochemistry and 500 million years of wisdom and protection. So again, we're going to dive deeper into this later. Do you have any questions, anyone right now? No questions? Great. So I can call on people and see what they learned. Tracy, let me just ask you, when you hear this, what do you think? Like, what for you, is this helpful in any way?
It is helpful. I think I'm still kind of stuck with like something that Sean said. And I'm I'm kind of trying to compartmentalize it, I think, where a lot of these things people want to find, once, you know, your body's starting to heal, find the energy to start doing things. And I feel like I'm the polar opposite. I need to heal my body so I could slow down.
Mm.
So I think I was thinking of that a lot. I feel like I could go up and down that hill a lot, even though I might not move a lot. I still can do that. And I'd like to be sitting at the top where I'm quiet and not worrying about having energy to do something.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, please.
So that sounds like from the two states of the nervous system that we just learned, can you name which state that you tend more towards?
I think the dorsal vagal.
So what I heard was that you go,
Mm-hmm. But
and
then
that you want to, and go
But-
ahead.
But I still like, it's like, even though like I have the energy, I'm emotionally burnt out.
Okay.
So that's why I thought dorsal, but I guess it could live in both of those, the sympathetic too, because that is like that same story. And like, you know, she kind of feels like it. I look at her and I feel like she's like telling her story over and over at the bottom.
So thank you so much for bringing this to the surface, because this is a perfect scenario of a blended experience.
Mhm.
So what we have, what I'm hearing is you're pushing and you're going, but underneath it is exhaustion. And this happens a lot where people's nervous systems are going either because they're forced to, they have to go, they have to push, and well, have to, but their life is set up in a way that they have to keep pushing because that's where they are. I won't get into that, but you're basically burning the candle on both ends. So underneath is going to be exhaustion. This is the person that is working, then they go on vacation and they get sick as soon as they're on vacation because their system has stopped. Underneath it is just exhaustion, and they finally have an opportunity to drop into that exhaustion, drop into what is really there because that surface energy is out of the way, and underneath it is just exhaustion and dysregulation and immune dysregulation, and then the opportunistic moment for an infection comes in and then they're sick. The other thing can be is the person who has been dysregulated for so long, and they're more in a sympathetic tone where they're having a hard time sleeping because their system is so revved up, the wired but tired person. And then all of a sudden they're learning tools and becoming more regulated, and they start to sleep better. And then all of a sudden they come in, and I hear this all the time with my patients. They come in and they're like, I'm exhausted. I don't get it. I'm sleeping better and I'm so tired. We've got to work this up. What's wrong with me? And no, it's that artificial energy of that sympathetic drive is now out of the way. You're sleeping and your body wants to sleep. Your body needs that rest on a cellular level. Those mitochondria are waiting to be resourced, and they need to rest to be able to shift from cell danger back to energy production. That hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, that whole neuroendocrine immune system has been pulsing out cortisol and adrenaline, and all of a sudden you're taking that away, and underneath it needs to re-regulate. And you need that period. You need to give it time. You can't just go from one state to the other when it's been hanging out in one for so long. The body takes time to organize and integrate and to come back to a place of balance and homeostasis. So there could be a surface level of a sympathetic dominant state. And underneath that could be more of that dorsal vagal, the body just really wanting to shut down.
You know, Tracy, and just to build on what Sean's saying, because I think she's saying it perfectly, you being able to separate the two allows you to experience this sort of overdrive, and underneath you're saying, I still have this emotional exhaustion, which really means you still need time to heal and be patient with yourself. It also means, and you said this, I want to be the person at the top. We all want to be the person when we show you something vertical, but we live in those states. Well, over time, you may enter dorsal vagal. I was doing it a month ago, but as I heal, I don't stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll experience sympathetic overdrive when you fall or a car wreck or whatever. That's important. And you say, oh, I trust that. I want to do that. But you finish that cycle, your cells don't wind up in this cellular distress reaction, and you don't wind up so emotionally burdened. And then you come out of it and you're staying healthy and you're moving forward. So you will, over time, understand that these states aren't necessarily vertical. We want to spend as much time as we can at the top of the mountain, don't get me wrong, but you know, I'm not going to join an ashram right now. I got to feed a bunch of kids and they're going to school and blah, blah, blah. But I can not get trapped in these states. And that requires what you're doing right now, which is sharing with us, starting to see how sympathetic can keep you going. But underneath, as Sean is saying, you're still paying a big price. And the sooner we calibrate those, the sooner you go on to heal. And there's less chance that you're going to get stuck in the future as you heal. Understanding all those different parts of you that this picture doesn't depict is what Sean, and I'm really understanding every time I listen to Sean, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So I think that helped me clarify a lot. So you being able to actually see and feel that emotional exhaustion, even though you got all this energy, you're already starting to realize, wow, I have to give myself time to heal. I have to be patient with myself, not take that energy and ride it or whatever else you need to do, because then that emotion becomes more and more burdensome.
And that energy, just to add a little more to that, Vicente, thank you so much. The energy is almost like an artificial energy. It's like you're pushing that neuroendocrine immune system, you're pushing your adrenals, you're pushing that cortisol, you're riding on the cortisol. And what you're doing is you're eating up your resources. And that's taking resources from the cells.
Well, then I think that is why, sorry if I can, I think that is probably why I'm having so much success with the tools. Probably that would make sense.
Exactly.
Because you're pausing.
Exactly. And what we are trying to do today and this coming week is help each of you understand the different states of the nervous system so you can recognize what you're doing, understand what's happening inside your body, and then know which tools and when to bring them in for support so that you don't get stuck in that state.
And you pick your tools. They work differently for different people, which is why there's so many tools to pick.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that, Vicente and Sean. So what Sean didn't finish is the rest of her story the other night when she shared that I went to her house and I was really excited to share a bunch of content for the curriculum, and she froze. But when she paused, guess what she did? She came up with this beautiful practice with Mike, and I watched it, and it was so impactful because she went and she paused. And then everything flowed. And it was amazing to witness it. So Sean, we have half hour left. You want to take them through?
Yes. Thank you, Kristen. So Tracy mentioned that she wants to sit on top of the mountain in ventral vagal state. We all want to be there. And one thing I've been playing with this week, which I want to share with you, is a tool that has been helping me plug in and have more access to that ventral vagal state. And I've been using it as a resource for myself. So what I want to help you experience today is your midline. And the midline, not in the sense of an anatomical position, but the midline as an experience of a functional anatomy. It's a field of influence. It's a process. in my osteopathic training and my teachers, the way we have learned about the midline as a function is through studying embryology. And in embryology, there's this intelligence with a capital I that is so much wiser than our mind will ever be. There's this intelligence that guides the functional progression of the development of a fetus. And this fetus develops because there's a need for function, not because there's a need for a foot or because there's a need for a heartbeat, but there's a need for something to pump the blood and this heart emerges. There's a need for this inhalation and exhalation to occur and the lungs emerge. It has this wisdom and intelligence to produce this function. And we can access this midline within ourselves therapeutically. So let's go through an exercise together to help us help you guys experience this functional midline. And the first time I was taught it, and then we'll expand on the way I was taught it, was to take our fingers and just bring them to the periphery of our chest and just slowly start to walk with your fingers, walk your way in. And Mike mentioned this in our session at 11, that instead of gliding in, I agree, the walking the fingertips in is more profound. So walking your fingertips towards the center, you find a place where your fingertips meet, and how does it feel to meet in that place? Versus walking your fingertips over to the left a little. And then back to the middle. And then over to the right. Is there a different feeling inside your body? There's a yawn, Marianne, thank you. I got a breath. There's some co-regulation and mirror neurons happening here. When you engage that midline, is there something that happens inside that is different than when you're off the midline? Take your time with this. This is a subtle experience. And then you can walk your way up. You can walk your way down. And there is a sweet spot. There is a sweet spot that there, I found mine. And as soon as I find that spot, a breath freely comes in. I think Tracy just got one. And once you find that spot, and you know you're there, certain body cues may arise to let you know you're there. The breath may be easier. A yawn may come through. You might start salivating a little bit. These are all cues that you're in a ventral vagal state. You may hear some belly gurgles. Some people feel it a lot in their belly. Their belly starts to gurgle because in the ventral vagal state, this is where we rest and digest the best. Does anyone want to share their experience of coming to the midline with their fingertips, experiencing what the midline feels? And if you can project your awareness, the fingertips are more of a cue. It's not what's happening underneath your fingertips and that contact. It's more of a cue of, oh, my midline is somewhere deep inside me, but in this general area of where my fingers are. And then how does it feel when you find, if you were able to find that sweet spot? And if you weren't, I invite you to just practice this. If you can find that sweet spot. And then what happens when you find that sweet spot? Marianne.
So for me, like I started to relax as I did it, the first instructions of walking in, and it just felt great. But then going to each side, I want to yawn again. Like that was just so relaxing. And I went up and down and everything felt good. But just going to each of those sides made me feel like kind of like I exist or I'm alive or welcome. You're an important part of the world. You're alive, really. So but I wanted to keep doing it. I didn't want to just stay there with my fingers together. I wanted to keep, and going back and forth was nice too, doing both sides.
I love the way that you are using your body cues to guide you. That's perfect. Thank you. Did anyone else have an experience they'd like to share with exploring what it feels like to experience their midline, maybe for the first time?
I think for me, it's Megan, by the way. I think for me, I experienced the opposite. So I've been stuck in dorsal vagal for a few days now. I overdid it a couple days ago. So I experienced frustration because I almost don't feel myself doing it. I feel numb almost and heavy. So I started getting frustrated, but then I reminded myself, when I start to come out of dorsal vagal, this will be a good practice, and then I can see the difference from feeling numb and disassociated to then having that experience. So it's something I'll be saving for later, pretty much.
Yeah, Megan, thank you so much for sharing where you are and having such beautiful awareness of where you are and sharing that with the group so that others can understand what it's might feel like and to be in a dorsal vagal response, and that kind of numb feeling, not being able to fully feel and be present. Kristen and I were talking about this earlier, and I just noticed Bella and I were sitting outside last night looking out at the trees, and one of my favorite things to do is to look at the trees in the distance and the leaves and the way they are picked up by the wind and how it looks like the trees are dancing. And when I'm in ventral vagal, I can feel the leaves dancing when I look at them. And I know when I'm in dorsal vagal because I can't feel the leaves. I can look at the leaves and I can see that they're moving, but I can't feel it in my body. And that's how I know when I'm in overwhelm. My body's just not ready and capable of feeling anything more in this moment. So thank you, Megan, for bringing that awareness and sharing that with us. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead, Cynthia.
Hi, good day, everyone. Thank you for this beautiful program. This was an interesting exercise that presented Dr. Sean. Amazing. As I entered into the midline, I could immediately feel my collarbone kind of relaxing. But then as I descended more towards my heart center, my shoulders relaxed, the back of my neck relaxed. I had a couple of yawns, but I'm suppressing them because I'm on camera and I'm self-conscious about that kind of stuff. But yes, the nice inhale, the breath in, breath out, sort of just happened, stimulated that response. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I just want to say, we welcome the visuals of yawning. And the reason why is because we again get the opportunity to co-regulate with each other. We get the opportunity to experience what's called mirror neurons. So when you yawn, somebody else can experience that ventral vagal state, and yes, and maybe yawn from your yawn. It's like watching babies laugh. You can't help but want to laugh when you hear a baby laugh. So if you're stuck in sympathetic or ventral vagal and you want to go into dorsal vagal, watch some videos of babies laughing. It is one of the easiest ways to come out of a state that you're stuck in. That's why laughing yoga works so well, because we hear other people laughing and you just naturally want to start to laugh. So please, please, please yawn so that we can all yawn with you.
Okay, yawning is contagious, yes.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to make a comment about, as you were speaking, and Kristen and Dr. Vincente, is that there's a, I think Confucius once said that, and it speaks to getting stuck, right? So there's no way around suffering but to go through it. And I think what this program is presenting to us that, you know, and you've discussed it before, we're always going to have stress. It's whether we choose to be and recognize to be stuck in it and come out on the other side better for it is what it's feeling like for me. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I'll just add one little piece to that. It's not to get stuck in it, but it's also not to push it away, not to avoid it, because it goes somewhere. So if we try to brush it under the carpet or stuff it or pretend that it's not happening, it gets stuck in ways that we're not consciously aware of. And so that's the other
cycle, right? So overdoing it. Oops, I did it. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it. Now I have to back it up, allow my body to rest, heal, and be kinder to myself and not overdo it. It's okay if it doesn't get done. It's fine. It will get done eventually, and if it doesn't get done, oh well, it's not going to change the spin on the planet a whole lot. And so yeah, not getting right. So it's important to recognize it, to take care of it, but not to get stuck in it.
Yep, and I'll take it one step further, is to welcome it. Yay, I have an opportunity. I overdid it, and now I have an opportunity to practice. Because every time I practice, every time I go into dorsal vagal, every time I go into sympathetic overdrive, and I come out of it quicker, my body remembers. And it detaches from the pattern. And I go, and it's easier and easier each time. So now I welcome the moments to practice rather than like, oh, I messed up again. No. Yay. This is another opportunity that I get to practice my tools.
It's very important, and only one comment from my learning. I used to, even for myself and with my daughter who studies for exams and goes, totally anxious, I kept saying, give yourself grace. And you mentioned love, Cynthia, in some ways, and compassion. But it wasn't until I actually, from Sean, gave me the word permission. Permission is giving yourself grace. But when I started, and maybe it was us, but when I started even communicating with her that give yourself permission to heal, give yourself time, then she kind of understood that she needs to take breaks and she can't just go 12, 20 hours a day like everyone else that's trying to study for exams and blah, blah, blah. And she started to realize, and I started to realize with the word permission, it allows you to give yourself grace, but giving yourself permission allows you to learn, it allows you to repeat, and you do wind up over time welcoming it because it's no longer holding you back. It's allowing you to work through it, as you're saying, feeling it to heal it, and it becomes easier not to get stuck. And those are the patterns we want to focus on. So permission was much more powerful in communicating what I needed to do and what I was trying to teach my daughter. And it's all grace, but permission is a very important word. You have to give yourself permission. It also means you're not victimizing yourself. You're giving yourself permission to heal. I'm not going to be a victim.
Thank you, Vicente. Let's take this practice a little bit. I invite you to give yourselves permission to take this practice to the next level. And we'll do that standing if you're comfortable. You can do it seated, but I'm going to invite you to stand. And you may want to have a chair close by for balance. If you feel like you need support, always bring the support in that you need. And that should always be priority. So if you need a chair to lean onto, because we're going to do a little bit of balance work and playing with our balance. So what I want you to do is have your feet on the ground, feel the earth supporting your feet, and feel the four corners of your feet planted into the earth. And just play with leaning forward into your toes, leaning back into your heels. You could play with the edge if you're comfortable. That might get thrown off by the inertia or gravity. Come off to one side and come to lean to the other side. And just go through that a couple of times. And after you go through it a couple of times, I want you to then find your midline with your fingers again. And if you have found that sweet spot where you get that breath or that yawn, or you just feel plugged in, I want you to try, while you're engaged with that spot with your hands, I want you to try the same exercise. So lean back into your heels, lean forward into your toes, lean off to the side and one side. And is there something different about having your fingers engaged with that midline or that sweet spot that feels different or more stabilizing for you, or not, something opposite? And if anybody would like to share their experience, I'd love to hear. This is something you can play with during the week.
So it's Alexa. I definitely feel like more stable, and with my fingertips on my, like, finding the midline, like I wanted to close my eyes and do it and not worry about tipping over or needing to grasp anything. Like, it immediately, the feeling inside was like being actually grounded, like I had roots into the earth. And
Yes,
it's very settling.
Yep, that's been my experience as well. Is anyone else experiencing that? Marianne, yes. Vicente, Cynthia. Great. So play with this during the week. And when you feel like you're moving into sympathetic, how does it feel to just have a hand there? Is it grounding for you? Use this as a resource, as a tool, and play with it. This is just something I've been playing with for the past week. And actually yesterday someone saw me and commented like, wow, you look strong and really grounded. And I was like, huh, I've been doing this midline practice all week. So I invite you to use this practice. You can do it seated. I immediately get that breath even as I start to lean into different directions. And then how does it feel to do your practice of finding your feet on the ground and your sitting bones in the chair? And once you find that support and grounding sensation, then finding your midline, what element does that bring into your experience? So another tool for your calibration toolbox. Thank you, everybody, for all the participation.
In closing, for those that attended Dr. Dan Murphy's session, we're going to do what he did, walking around the Stanford campus. He was coming out of dorsal vagal. He was hitting sympathetic, but he didn't have the language or the knowledge of the states at that time. And so he would hit sympathetic and go back down to dorsal. But as he slowly did more meditative work, and now he's going to be in our program, learning some of this language and this work to continue his journey as he teaches and coaches many physicians around the world. He taught us heart-brain coherence. So we're going to go through that exercise. And why are we teaching that today? And why did Dr. Sean just teach midline? Because look to the left in this image, you can see the protectors that we discussed. So as you're going and thawing out of dorsal vagal, protectors are going to come up. And remember, that's just the magnificent wisdom of the body, because we're stuck in survival state for a long time. And as they come up, the only thing to do is notice. Notice when it's coming up. Yesterday, we launched a guided practice to swap. And this has been working for me. I use this guided practice to swap for my protectors. So perfectionism comes up, or I love to soothe with like my favorite desserts all the time. And so I have now swapped that for this meditation, which guides me putting the flashlight inward and using some of these heart coherence practices and sharing some of the language that Dan Murphy taught us. The beauty of everything you're doing is if you look to the right image, he has a backpack with iCalibrate tools. You have all the resources that you need. We're going to continue to share more. But as you continue this journey, you can resource yourself to heal, which is a pretty incredible thing. So I'll take us through the heart-brain coherence practice. I invite you to put your hand on your heart and just feel your heartbeat beneath your ribs. Notice your breath. And then just gently breathe in for a count of 5 through your nose and a count of 5 out your mouth. And as you continue to do that, visualize the breath coming in and out of your heart space. So as your hand feels your heartbeat, just visualize the breath coming in and out as you deepen your breath. And as you're doing it, notice if anything's shifting. Notice if there's any new sensations in your chest. This very simple practice is building what we call coherence. So if you watch the Heart Math video on Monday, you understand the science behind it. Now just visualize something that brought you joy today, years ago, or gratitude. Who was there with you? Where were you? What were you doing? As if you're reliving it right now. Keep breathing in and out of your heart space and just notice. Do you feel any warmth, any tingling, any ease? And remember this feeling. You can come back to this feeling by simply putting your hand on your heart. So as Dr. Dan Murphy described, he would walk across the campus and he would put his hand on his heart and he said these 3 statements. So I'll ask you if you would repeat after me, if that's okay. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. If emotions come up, that's perfectly normal. Thank you all for attending this practice today. We look forward to seeing you all on Friday.